We've now been joined by Kevin Harvick, driver of the number 4 Outback Steakhouse Chevrolet. And Kevin, another strong run for your team last week in Richmond. You come into Talladega this week. It always is a little bit of a wild card race, but just talk about your team's outlook going into Sunday's race.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the outlook, I guess, at the beginning of the week, and just it's just going to be try to stay up front and hopefully stay out of trouble. So we all know that that's hard to do, but I believe in today's rules package and all the things that go with it. It's just better to be in the front, and I feel like you're safer up there. So if you're going to win the race, which is what we want to do, you're going to have to go through or be a part of the pack at some point, and it just seems like that's the best way to do it for us.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions for Kevin. If you have one, please state your name and affiliation, and we're going to start up front. If we can get a mic here in the middle. Anyone? To the affiliate right here. Yep, thank you.
Hey, Kevin. Scott Forrester, ABC in Birmingham. There's been a lot made about declining attendance and fan support. What are your thoughts on how NASCAR can grow the fan base?
I mean, the last 3 races that we went to last year were sold out, so I don't know that that's a 100% true statement. I think it just depends on where you go and what you do. Now, if you want to talk about growing the sport, I believe that some venues need one race. I believe that the schedule needs to be mixed up, and people like things that change. They don't like stagnant things. And in my opinion, the most stagnant thing in our sport is our schedule and our venues that we go to. So you can beat a dead horse as much as you want, but it doesn't come back to life. And sometimes you just have to change things up to keep the excitement and enthusiasm in the sport. And I think that our schedule is definitely the weak link, along with some of the venues that we go to. So that's my opinion.
All right, we'll take our next question from Jenna. Go ahead.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Kevin, qualifying is not going to be the way it was at Daytona. Did you like or dislike Daytona qualifying, and how do you feel about what you're going to do tomorrow?
Well, I feel really good about what it's evolved into. I think all the competitors feel that way. I think the guys in the garage feel that way. We were tearing up a lot of race cars in qualifying, and I think when you look at the format and how much better it's made qualifying at all the other venues, it's hard not to just really try to make our current format work at the downforce races and try to make that work here. But it just didn't work. Running last to be first just didn't make sense in a lot of our heads. And I think the sped up single car process with one lap, hopefully it makes as much sense as everybody thinks it's going to, and makes the process that much better. So I think there's been a lot of things that have changed, but I think our qualifying change has been week in and week out probably one of the better changes that we've had in our sport in a while. And I think when you look at the adjustment and the time that everybody's put in, I hope that it evolves to that on this weekend as well.
All right, we're going to go to Bob. Bob, go ahead.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. With the news about GoDaddy not sponsoring a car at Stewart-Haas next year, I mean, you have a company that's involved in finding sponsorships and stuff. How marketable or how much of a challenge do you think it'll be for the team to find sponsorship for Danica, and how important is it for the team to find sponsorship for?
Yeah, I think when you look at the way that you have to go out and approach sponsorship, I think for myself personally, I've been on both sides of it as the owner and as the driver, and sat in this room in 2009, and Shell Pennzoil announced that they were leaving the car that I was driving at that particular point. And when you're not in that position and you haven't approached that before, it can be a little bit intimidating. But I think when on May 1st, and you have somebody like Danica Patrick that's obviously very marketable, and I think she's done a good job on the racetrack and had some good results this year. I think that the opportunity to do that and go out and find a sponsor is very high. So she's been a great part of being a teammate of myself and everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing. And I think when you just have to, I think there's just a lot of decisions to be made on, what what that costs and how you approach it and where you start. And I don't know the ins and outs of when that process was started or talked about, or what the whole story is behind, as far as when everybody knew that GoDaddy was in or out. So it's there's still, in my opinion, it takes several years to get that solid foundation of money and sponsorship on one car. And I think, even for our car, I mean, there's room for improvement on just what you think you should have for sponsorship on a car. So when you're starting with the primary, obviously that's the first task, but the primary nowadays doesn't bear all the load of the primary sponsorship. Is a primary sponsorship. You have to have other primary sponsors, you have to have associate sponsors and things like that. So it's there's a lot to talk about and build and go through, but I think that the opportunity with her and the company are very high when you look at what you need.
All right, Claire, go ahead.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Because you do own a company in which you work with sponsors and have worked on this as a business owner, team owner in NASCAR, do you know what the sponsors, technically want? For example, you have a championship when your renewal comes up. Does the championship help? Is it definitely the race wins if Danica were to win? Is it moving the needle on Joyce Julius more so nowadays than it is whether you are a race winner or a champion? Does it guarantee you more now that you're a champion?
Well, I think that definitely adds value, to the scenario of whatever we have to appeal to a sponsor. But I think in the end, it's really, and this goes back to the first question that you asked me. The most important thing to the sponsors are those TV numbers and social media outreach. The fans are important to the event in the grandstands, but in the end, the people, the Joyce Julius numbers and those sponsor numbers are the most important thing. So, I think I mentioned a little bit of something like that last week, and I know that we talk about Saturday night races a lot, and a lot of people like Saturday night races, but more people watch Sunday at 1. So that to me we need to be on the TV when the most people watch, because the sponsors are a big part of what makes this go around, and the fans watching on TV, seeing those products, and the fans in the grandstands and seeing those products are important, but the TV numbers are the most important thing we have.
All right, we're going to go to Rick and then to Jeff. Go ahead, Rick.
Rick Miller, Racing Today. Following up on your answer about the stagnant schedule, if you were in charge, where are 3 or 4 places you'd go?
Well, I know the first place I'd go is Iowa. I think that everybody wants to see more short tracks and more venues, and I think road racing is we have a couple road races on the schedule, and most every team has 2 road race cars and spends a lot of money on their road race program. So adding a road race here or there would definitely be something that I would vote for, just for the fact that internationally road racing is very recognizable to race fans, whether it be Formula One or any other form of racing. There's not many ovals, so you could take your pick on road courses. Montreal does a great job. You could go to Laguna Seca. You could go anywhere in the world and race on a road course. So there's lots of good venues. I'd have to really think about the rest of the question. And I've always been a fan of, let's go to the banquet and roll the pills around of racetracks across the country and have a wild card race every year, and go to the Milwaukee Mile, and really you could go to test these venues and see how the market reacts and see the reaction that you get from the market. Even if you only have 30 or 40,000 people in the grandstands, if you put on a good event for TV and do the things that it takes to have a unique event, that's really what people want. They want unique things.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
Jeff Club from USA Today and Behind the Cameras. I want to ask you about the schedule, too, because, you've sort of been leading the charge on that with your comments over the last few years, mentioning it a couple times. I mean, obviously, you're frustrated that nothing's been done. I mean, what do you think the holdup is? Why isn't there more movement in this industry to get that sort of accomplished?
2 publicly traded companies.
Right, Jerry.
I think when you look at the what NASCAR has done, when you look at what the manufacturers have done, when you look at the teams and the sacrifices and the changes that all three of those groups have gone through, I mean, they've gone through major changes. I mean, when you look at the body style changes and the effort that the manufacturers put into this, and the rule changes for these particular super speedway races, and the safety effort that NASCAR has put in, it's not that the tracks aren't putting in an effort. It's just, you know, there needs to be a different type of effort. And this is just my opinion. We're just talking today.
Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires to your left, Kevin. Break from schedules and racing real quick. With Mother's Day being next weekend, what role did your mom play in your career and getting you where you are today?
Yeah, you know, for me, you know, most everything I did was away from my mom and my sister, because on the weekends it was my dad and grandpa and myself that would go to the go-kart races, and it's much like Delana is now. I mean, somebody has to hold down home base and make sure that there's food in the refrigerator and the house is clean, and getting sister to events, and then when you get home on Monday morning, make sure that you show up to school and do all the things that you're supposed to do around the house. So there definitely has to be somebody who keeps us all in check, and that's how my mom was, and Delana definitely keeps us all in check nowadays as far as where we need to go and what we need to be doing. So otherwise, I'd forget everything.
All right, we're going to take our two final questions from Jay and Nate. Go ahead, Jay.
Jay Pennell with Fox Sports. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with your spotter and how important that is at a track like this. And is this the most important track for the spotter-driver relationship? And, you know, how often do you meet with him throughout the weekend and kind of base out your plan leading up to Sunday's race?
Yeah, Rodney and I spent a lot of time really looking for the right spotter to fit into not only with what I was looking for, but fit in with the team. And Tim Fedua is the spotter on our car, and for us, I listened to a lot of guys and just really felt like he was basic and simple, and you know, for me, that's really what I'm looking for. We're not looking for cheerleaders or somebody to tell you how to drive the car or anything like that, but you're looking for somebody that can give you advice, and somebody that can, especially at these places, tell you when the line's coming, when the line's going, and really what's going on, and be able to have that confidence in that person as far as what's around you, and believing it when he says clear, and not looking in the mirror, and you know, so Timmy fits everything that we've put together as a team, and that's really the most important thing is he gets along with all the team guys and myself, and does a good job on the radio is kind of a bonus.
All right, Nate, go ahead.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Kevin, you tested in Indianapolis this week, and I think it was Sam Hornish Jr. who said something to the effect of he felt like he had pretty good lap times until he saw yours, and apparently that was that good by some other people. Did you feel like you were that far ahead of the field during that test? And are you pleased that your team seems to, in a sport where things can change week to week, it seems like your team is still staying ahead of the game, you know, a year and a half into this relationship?
Well, I never, as I normally do, I don't look at lap times. I didn't even know they were keeping lap times for everybody. But, you know, I think as you talk about the team and the things that they do, Rodney's constantly pushing, and I know that leads everybody else to push things and try to come up with new things. And we ran through a lot of those things at Indy with, you know, a list of things from top to bottom of things that hopefully we can utilize in the future. So, but that's just Rodney's MO. I mean, that's just what he does to keep up with. That's just how he is on a day-to-day basis. He wants to try to make everything as perfect as possible. He's a detail freak, and he's always looking for something to be better and push in another direction. So, and that helps with everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing, and you know, all those guys are pushing just as hard and in the things that all the crew chiefs dream up. So, you know, I felt comfortable in the car, but I'm not telling you a story when I tell you that I normally don't look at lap times, and we try to just keep our head down and stay within our box in the garage and do our own thing and not worry about what everybody else has going on.
All right, Kevin, we appreciate your time this morning. And wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thanks.
to Blake Cook earlier today, and he said the leaf filter folks are going to be here this weekend. So he was excited to have a little support from the sponsor on the pit box, in and around the garage, and saw the Zachary people last week at Richmond supporting David Starr. And Starr's got to have some added confidence because of the run that team put together at Daytona earlier this season.
Yeah, had finished in the 6th spot, had his best career finish in the Xfinity Series.
Eric Jones, quickest in practice for NASCAR Xfinity Series teams. 17 minutes to go at Talladega.
When I put on this jersey, it's amazing to look back when I was a kid and think of what I thought of the jersey, and now I'm in that spot. I love the Olympics, but the World Cup is the thing if you're a footballer.
See Megan and the U.S. team take on